kid dies, you mourn the person that they would have become. And I think that's what really hurts. That's the really hard part. So when I was running on the pass, I kept thinking to myself, how am I going to do right by those years that he didn't get? What am I going to do? So I almost think that what I wanted to do was take the years, the hypothetical years that in my imagination I saw Duncan living, the experiences that I thought he might have, the joys that he'd have in his life, and kind of absorb it into mine. Because I think that gave me a little bit of comfort. So I committed myself. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take all the things in my life that matter the most. I'm just going to do them more. So I started running a little bit more. And I started cycling a little bit more. And I started swimming. I'd been a swimmer when I was a kid, and I thought, I haven't done that in a while. I'm going to start doing that again. And I thought, wait, I'm doing all three of those things. There's like a sport, right? Where they do, they swim triathlons. So actually, it was 3 months to the day after Duncan died that I did my first triathlon in Kingston. And man, that was good. It was like a drug. That was awesome. I think it was like a drug. 6 months after he died, I did my first half Ironman. And then to date, I tried to count, but I can't really. It's somewhere around 20, 25 in the last 3 years. So one of the other things that I thought would be a good way to honor Duncan and to make sense of it was this whole sepsis thing too, right? I can remember a conversation I had with one of my wife's uncles immediately after Duncan died. He pulled me aside. He actually did this at the funeral service. He pulled me aside, which, by the way, this is a bad idea. Don't do this. Pulled me aside and he's like, Ken, what happened? So I explained, like, oh yeah, chest infection. Ignored it. It got worse. It turned into sepsis. No, that just doesn't sound right. Healthy 21-year-old kids don't just die suddenly like that. That doesn't happen. You need to sue somebody. What? No, I don't think that's the path to healing. I had to educate him that no, this is a thing that happens. Lisa, you mentioned it as well, a story about the Bitcoin guy. It's not just older people with compromised immune systems. It's people like me, people like you, people 21-year-old kids, 7-year-old kids. Any single infection left untreated can turn into sepsis, regardless of who you are. So I was clearly learning more about sepsis, and I thought, nobody knows this. And even 3 years ago, it was worse. Nobody knew it. Nobody knew the word, right? You would walk around and say sepsis. What is that? So I committed myself, I'm going to raise some awareness. So I had a little t-shirt done up, and on the front it said, do it for Duncan, which had kind of become my sort of rallying cry for doing as much as I can. And on the back it said, ask me about sepsis. The back, because I had this cocky theory that, so I'm going to enter running races, and those people are going to see it. So I had a couple conversations. I'm what they call in the running world a Clydesdale, 210-pound guy stomping along. But it was great. I have a ton of conversations. The only downside was most of the conversations were like, so sepsis is your body's natural response to. In fact, can we just stop so we can have these conversations? My times were terrible, but I had all these wonderful, wonderful experiences. One of the other ways that I decided to go all in was blood donation. So again, this is something that I'd always kind of done, and I think that's the key. There were things in my life that I was kind of doing. I donated blood, I think, for the first time when I was 18 years old, and it was really just to get out of math class. That's why I'm in radio. And yeah, stay in school. But kind of on and off, you have kids, life comes up, you get a job, you're busy, things happen. It was sort of a every once in a while thing. So after Duncan died, and this wasn't one of those, well, Duncan needed 18 units of blood, so I need to give back. This was simply, this is something I was doing in my life that I could probably do a whole lot more of, and can, and it would have very little impact in my everyday life. So I committed to, I don't know, how many people here have donated blood? How many people here have donated plasma? Whoa, look at that. There you go, Kim. How many people here have donated platelets? How many here know that platelets is a thing you can donate? And there you go, right? So I committed to donating plasma, which is something you can do every 7 days. So I decided, why don't I do that every 7 days? So I made an appointment. In that 3 years, donated every, give or take, life still comes up, every single week, right through, I think I'm up to 264 or something. I'm not counting, but thanks. But one of the other things I did was also committed to raising awareness about it, telling people that, look, this is a really simple thing you can do to be a good member of your community, and at the end of it, they will give you freaking cookies. So, I mean, you literally, so I tell people, if you're gonna look for a charity to donate to, why don't you choose the one where they're super nice to you, they ask you a couple of inappropriate questions about your sex life, right? Then you lie in the lazy boy, semi-reclined, for, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes, and when you leave, they give you coffee and cookies. Like, that's a pretty good charity, right? So I've been helping to raise awareness for Canadian Blood Services. And again, like I mentioned that t-shirt that I have that was the hashtag Do It For Duncan. Every time I would go to the blood donor clinic, I'd be, sharing a picture of myself and using this hashtag, Do It For Duncan. And I found that maybe in the last 6 months, I've sort of gone through this, I don't want to call it a transformation, but maybe it's and I don't even call it an epiphany, it's not really that, I don't know what it is, maybe you can help me decide. But I've reached this point where I don't think that's right anymore. Because I don't think I'm doing it for Duncan. I don't think I'm doing it to honor his memory. I don't even think I'm doing it anymore out of grief. I think at this point, things I'm doing in my life are more because when I lost Duncan, I didn't lose him, when he died, it just shakes you as a human being to your core when somebody you love, someone that close dies. And when it's your kid, man, that just makes you reassess everything in your life. And I think when I'm at this point now, and I'm thinking, I could die tomorrow, would I be okay with that? Have I done enough to make the world a little bit better place than it was yesterday when I was here? Are there things in my life that I could maybe do a little bit more that would make somebody else's life better, and in turn would maybe make my life better? So I guess that's my rallying cry to you and to everybody I talk to at a triathlon or at the blood donor clinic or even at the beer store is just don't wait. I have all kinds of respect for people who will go to a cancer run and you ask them why they're there and they're like, oh, I lost my mom, she died of cancer, so now I want to honor her by giving back. That's great. Or somebody who's collecting money on their birthday for Alzheimer's instead of asking for presents, and they're going to make this big donation to Alzheimer's because their dad has Alzheimer's and they want to do right by him. That's great. Or the guy who runs triathlons in memory of his son. It's great. But how great would it be if you didn't have to go through all the garbage of grieving, or the bullshit of finding out that your dad has Alzheimer's, or the ridiculous process of saying goodbye to your mother because she had cancer? How amazing would it be if you could do all of those things and still have that person you love in your life? Well, the good news is you can. You can do it. All it takes is recognizing that this time is way too short. You might have 21 years, you might have 49 years, you might have 110, but you've got to start today to make it count. Thank you.